Hey everybody, Andy Brady here again, and today we're going to have a little talk about the Arkfeld Pro. We are not going to actually do a full-on review. What we're going to do is we're going to do some side-by-side comparisons to see this device that is basically like a utility device. It's got UV, it has a laser, and it has a pretty bright flashlight. And it claims to replace many of those other devices. And today I want to look at comparing it to the myriad of devices that it claims to replace. And can it actually replace them as your daily carry, as your EDC? Is it worth getting as your EDC? Is it worth getting based on how you would use your light? And then realistically, how does it compare with the individual items that you were trying to replace with the one light? So let's get right into it. All right, guys, so what I'm trying to compare here today, again, is apples to apples. I do have the Streamlight that we'll use in a couple different examples, but this is a very large flashlight, dedicated tactical flashlight. I use it for reference, but not as a direct actual comparison, as if I believe that one could replace the other. For the most part, what I'm looking for is I just grabbed some of my smaller flashlights so I can compare the lights, right? So we have the Coast HP3R, an amazing little device. It does have USB charging built right into the top, USB-C, which is a fantastic thing. I've actually got all Coast today. The Coast XP6R, a little pocket-friendly device. If you don't care about the diameter, you're more cared about the length, then this is a good device for you. This one has the ability to change focus, and the battery does have a micro USB charging port on there, which I absolutely despise. I wish they would have done something other than micro USB. I would like to throw all my micro USB charging cords away. I don't want them anymore. And then finally, I've got the COB, the Coast Inspection Light, that has the ability to put a light on the side, red. It is magnetic. It does have a clip. It does have a very direct small beam. And it's going to be the least bright of all of them, but again, might be right for you. Then when it comes to lasers, I will actually be comparing them against two different cheap, purchased off of Amazon lasers that very cheap. They use an 18650 battery. They are a dedicated green laser. And again, I'll be comparing that against the laser on this one. So much cheaper option. And then when talking about the UV, I'm going to be comparing it to a this one is a Jaxman, which I've actually not been able to find again, but UV Beast, one of the biggest, best known companies for making UV lights. I'll have links to all of these products to Amazon below, so if there's one of those items that you see that you prefer or that you like, use one of those links to purchase it. I would much appreciate that. So let's get right into it. Let's show you some examples of the difference between these devices. All right, now we're going to be testing it out in a basement environment. Again, same flashlights we were testing earlier, but I've got the flash on my camera, so you can kind of see about how bright a flashlight would be on a phone. And I'm going to turn the flash off. I'm going to be testing, again, three Coast lights and the Arkfeld. So let's turn the flash off. And we're going to start with the inspection light from Coast. You can see it's a very specific circle. There's no light bleed. You're only really seeing that one area. And then again, this one does also have the side bar that is at least as bright as the cell phone flash. So the cell phone camera would be. Again, a lot safer to use this instead of your flashlight or instead of your phone as a flashlight. And then this one does also have the red as well. This one's also magnetic, so you can stick it somewhere, which could be very, very useful in a lot of situations. Then we've got this Coast light, which is, and has been for a very long time, my go-to pocket use light until I got the Arkfeld. As you can see, it's significantly brighter. And again, we are looking close up area. Now for the third Coast light, this one is the, if you don't care about the diameter, the length of it, It's got a super bright middle area, but then it does also bleed out pretty far, so it does make it pretty comfortable to see the outerlying areas. But I do believe that my green coast is actually better. And then let's look at our Arkfeld. All right, so this is on regular. You can hold it down and it goes through different brightnesses. We put it on low. So low is very, very low. It's definitely the dimmest of all of them. And if you've got a Samsung phone like I do, you can actually change the brightness on your flashlight so you could get it this dim. This is the brightest setting without putting it in the ultra bright. It's pretty bright. It's very wide beam. There is no real center to speak of. And we double click it and it goes on ultra bright. And this thing is very, very bright. It really blows the others out of the water whenever it comes to brightness on a close-up environment like this. And then of course we are going to test it against a full-size flashlight, because why wouldn't we? This one's almost hard to get my camera to focus on. This one is ridiculously, ridiculously bright. The Streamlight ProTac 2.0. This is definitely a go-to for tactical use, for everyday use, but not, I would say, for an everyday carry. Put it in your back pocket. It is a very large flashlight, by far the largest of all of them. All right, continuing our dark area experiment in the game room, I am going to compare the laser pointer on this versus this one that is bought at a rip-off beach store. Laser 303 is the branding on it. And this one very similar, purchased off of Amazon. It doesn't even have a brand name, but looks almost identical, not quite the same in usage. These are extremely cheap. I will link to these. These use an 18650 battery, so a lot of times readily available and able to be swapped out with the flashlight that you're currently using. But let me go ahead and I'm actually going to start with the Arkfeld this time. Let's turn the flash off. So the Arkfeld definitely has a green laser. It is everything they claim that it would be. It is a green laser. It's just a laser pointer that is green. And the reason I say it that way is because when I show you these next two, it's going to kind of stand out. You can notice you don't really see a beam, right? And part of that's because it's not a very dusty environment, so you don't see the beam quite as much. But you know, shining it on the table right in front of me, you don't really get any light bleed. It's not really that bright in the grand scheme of things. Let's get the cheap one off of Amazon. Here you can see the beam, clear as day. You can see how bright it is. I mean, you could almost use this as a flashlight if you really wanted to. That's how bright it is. So, you know, the key takeaway here is it is a green laser on the Arkfeld, and if you want to entertain your cat, if you want to point to something for somebody, if you're doing a presentation, it is a great use. Let me grab the one that I got from just a beach kind of store. This one's even brighter. This one's kind of crazy bright. You can see the beam clear as day whenever I go sideways out in direction. So the Arkfeld really does not even begin to compete with even a cheap, very, very cheap, readily available laser pointer. I will link to the one from Amazon in the description below. Again, it comes with a very cheap battery. This is the one that it came with, so the battery life is nowhere near as long. But it is definitely a great little laser pointer. You know, I've said in other videos, I'm actually an indoor air quality expert. We actually use these lasers to be able to show people kind of what's in your air, right? So if you can see the laser, you can see that it's reflecting off of stuff, right? So you know that there's stuff in your air. You can actually see and know, you know, what's going on. All right, that's it for our indoor testing on this one. All right, testing the UV, not on trying to make things glow, but just how bright is it? You know, theoretically, you know, if you're in the right wavelength, you really shouldn't see the overflow of light, the light bleed quite as much. But I've definitely got some things over here in this game system that fluoresce. I've even got some things that glow in the dark. That was the Arkfeld. Here comes the off-brand, which I will link in the bottom as well. It is easily as bright, if not brighter. Definitely, yeah, I would say it's definitely brighter. Kind of hard to see in the video. I'm trying to look both at the video and at the actual real world, you know, in front of me. And it is definitely quite a bit brighter. So you can see the game controller stands there that actually glow. And then the UV Beast, This one has the least amount of bleed over, and it really doesn't show up in the camera very well, but it actually does not brighten the room a ton. The brightness of the room really only comes from things fluorescing. So I would definitely say the UV Beast would be much better for something like identifying stains in carpet, or trying to fluoresce something without actually lighting up the room. So again, the Arkfeld doesn't really compete as well as something like a dedicated device like the UV Beast, but it definitely holds its own if it's something you're going to keep in your pocket for everyday use. All right, another real-world comparison here. Looking in the back of a truck with a cover over it, it is bright outside, which means it's actually very difficult to kind of focus and see all the garbage and junk that I actually have in the back of my truck. So, let's turn the flash on the flashlight on the phone, and you can see it does brighten it up a little bit, but really, the phone is doing a lot more of the brightening than you can see in real world. Like, it's not lighting up the back of this truck at all in any way that it's meaningful. So let's look at the coast again. The short one definitely can actually finally see inside of here, which again seems like a weird example to use, but it's a real world everyday example. You got the sun shining and it is bright, and you can't see all the way in the back of the truck. Let's try this one out. Lights it up a lot. Lights it up a whole lot, right? And then our Arkfeld, again, and let's put on bright, right? And it goes back to the last default mode. So that bright is already significantly brighter than either of these two coast lights. And then I still have the ultra bright version. And I mean, the difference is massive. It is so much brighter than either of these other pocketable flashlights are. All right, yet another real world example here. We are going to look at the lasers outside in the sun. And this is actually pretty disappointing here, right? So I'm going to turn the laser on, and you can't really see it in the video. I'm going to zoom in on this tree, and no matter what I do, I cannot, with the naked eye, see this green laser at all in the daylight, more than about 10 or 15 feet away from me in the bright sunlight. Actually, it's overcast, so it's not even bright sunlight, and I cannot see this laser whatsoever. Let's look at the off-brand one that I recommend from Amazon. Again, you can't see it because I've zoomed in, but you can see it pretty clearly on that tree, right? And the video, again, does not do it justice. I can actually see this all the way down here at the creek. I can see it reflecting off the water down there, which you cannot see in the video, I'm sure. Definitely on the screen right now, I cannot see it. And then, the cheap one bought from, again, a beach store. Right, so this one is definitely by far the brightest. Again, I can see it all the way down here. Let me try to zoom in and see if you guys are able to see, down here in the grassy area. No, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but I can see it clear as day. So if I was trying to point something out to somebody, I could definitely do it with this laser in broad daylight, overcast daylight. But again, very disappointed in the power of the laser on the Olight. It's nice to have it there, but it'd be really nice if this works in the daytime. All right, so comparing the black lights here when trying to make something glow, there's not a whole lot of difference between these three things. This is the off-brand one right now. Did a fine job charging it up. I'm going to switch over. This is the UV Beast. It is by far the brightest, and it covers more, and it makes everything glow just a little bit brighter. But again, it's not a huge difference when comparing the ability to charge something at night. And then here we go, after letting it die down. This is using the Arkfeld, and it is very wide beam, very bright, does a great job charging things up, pretty straightforward. Real quick, before I get any questions in the comments, I did paint the ceiling fan blades with a glow-in-the-dark green, which made my son very, very happy. And just want to show you guys something really fun that you can do if you do that. I'm going to be using the UV Beast here. And every time I do that for my son at night, he is just ecstatic with that spiraling pattern. All right, so continuing on, we are now out in the dark, and I'm using the camera flash again so that you can see what you can see. Again, the Samsung camera is really able to pick up the darkness a lot better than the eye can right now, because it definitely looks brighter on the screen than it really does. But people commonly use their cell phones as their flashlights, which I think is a terrible idea, to use your $1,200 or $1,800 cell phone as your flashlight. So we're going to look at the flashlights, and we're going to look at the laser pointer. So I'm going to start off with the Arkfeld. And, when we use the Arkfeld, so you guys can still actually see some stuff, and it's pretty dark out here. When we use the Arkfeld, you can finally see it, on the tree, as we were able to see with the other lasers in the middle of the broad daylight. You can see it way down next to the creek. If y'all remember that part of the video, it zoomed way in. Something you guys probably can't really see is, oh, yep, there we go. I was able to trick it a little bit. You can actually start to see a little bit of the laser light out here. Because, air quality outside, dust, dander, pollen, yeast, fungus, stuff like that floating around the air will shine off of the laser. So it is usable if you wanted to use this for pointing to something, far off in the distance with a group of people. But unfortunately, when we get out the very cheap alternative bought off the internet, it is ridiculously brighter, significantly brighter. I can go to the complete other side of the mountain. I can aim it up towards the stars. We can stargaze using it. I mean, it's crazy how much different it really is. I'm not going to aim it at the sky, just because, planes fly overhead. They have to file reports and things like that. But regardless, point is, it is significantly brighter using a dedicated laser. So let's look at the flashlight. Again, this is real world example. First, we're going to use the inspection light, and you can see it still makes this very prominent circle, which is really neat whenever you are doing an inspection, whenever you are trying to, let's say, point something out to somebody, that it's very obvious where you're aiming. But if you were using this for everyday use, for walking along, for walking on a trail, for going out into these woods, it might not be your best option, because having a little bit of light leak is nice whenever you're doing something like that. Next, we'll use the short and stubby coast light. Now, we're getting real lighting now. I mean, we're able to see, about, I'd say about 40 yards or so out into the distance pretty clearly. Would definitely be a lot more comfortable hiking with something like this, using this for an everyday flashlight. Part of that's because of the leak, and part of it's just it's significantly brighter than the small pen inspection light. Let's move on to the Coast. This is one of my favorite lights I've ever owned. I mean, it's a flood, and yet it's the size of a pen. I mean, it's crazy how bright this thing really is. It also has the option to focus, whereas the other one does not. So I can turn it into a much finer beam, or broaden it way out, where you'll lose that focus, but man, it ends up like a spotlight. Now, the Arkfeld. Right, so remember we've got 3 different brightness settings. So on low, it's barely even bright enough to really, I mean, it's like a cell phone flashlight, right? Then you can, let's see, turn it up to the next brightness. Actually, let's just go full bright before going into, I can't remember if they call it boost mode. I'll check it before I post. But then we can do boost mode, and you can see it significantly brighter. Significantly brighter. Now, this one does not have the ability to focus, so it is a wide beam. It is a floodlight at all times. It also does not project the light anywhere near as far as the pen Coast light. Not the inspection light, but the green one. But it is an amazing light for the size, for the shape, for everything else. And then again, just for point of reference, we do have, there we go, we do have our, gotta remember what brand this one is. Oh, duh, Streamlight. We do have my Streamlight out here, and we'll give a point of reference with that. It's ridiculous. Hard to see, I guess, right here, right now, but the amount of distance that this throws, getting all the way down there, you can actually see the creek at the very bottom of the hill. You can see the dust floating through the air. It's so bright. That creek is about 300 yards away, and I'm pretty sure if you were down there, you'd probably be able to read a book by this light. But again, we're not reviewing this light. I just wanted to give some kind of point of reference to a dedicated, ridiculously bright, tactical style flashlight. All right, so with all of that information, a couple little things I want to retouch on, re-add. Right, so the laser dedicated uses an 18650 battery. The one that I have comes from Phoenix, and it has a USB-C charger right on the battery, but I also do have battery cradles that will charge it. So that's how you charge this one. The Coast has a proprietary battery inside of it, but I believe that you can also, yep, you sure can, because I'm using them right now. Just use 2 AAA batteries. Or you can choose to get their dedicated battery that they have for this device. And then this Coast, the HP3R, has a USB-C charger built right into it. And then again, it has its own proprietary battery inside of here that you can purchase extras of. And it also has a USB-C charger built right into the front of the battery. So if you end up with an extra one of these, also, I've never tried it, but I do believe that you can actually use AAA batteries on this one as well, though I don't think I ever would, because if I can recharge it, why spend all that money on AAA batteries? So that does bring me to a complaint. Oh, by the way, both of these UV lights are using 18650s. Again, I've got the ones with the charge built into it. The UV Beast does have the charger on the side of it as well, USB-C. This Jacksman one does not, so I actually have to pull the battery out of this one to charge it, whether I put it in the cradle or I use USB-C. And then, you know, again, I showed you guys earlier, the Coast XP6R has a proprietary battery with USB micro USB as its charging source, which drives me absolute bonkers. But that doesn't mean that the O-Light is the best option automatically off of charging, because the battery's non-removable. So if it goes dead, you're without a battery. You can't hot swap quick, put in a different battery, and then be full charge again. And then something that drives me absolutely bonkers is also something that's really awesome. You know, they are well known. O-Light is well known for their magnetic charging adapters. You slap it on there, it charges, get up in the morning, walk away from it, and you're good to go. I've actually 3D printed a dock for this so that I can actually just dock it and the charger stays behind. But I do also hate that there is no option for USB-C on here. Just like I hate having to keep the micro USB for that, you know, for this one flashlight for the most part. So if I travel, which since this is my EDC flashlight, you know, I'm carrying it every single day whenever I go anywhere, I'm flying with it, I have to take a separate charger for this. And every other device that I own is USB-C at this point. Everything is USB-C at this point. And I've got to carry a completely separate charger for a flashlight that I might not even use on the entire trip, just in case I use it and it goes dead. And so I have to have this with me as well. So what I'm going to throw out here is, depending on your usage, obviously any of these lights could be exactly what you need. So if all you care about is a flashlight and you don't really care about the laser or the black light, then this is not the light for you. I do not believe so. In fact, I think the HP3R is one of the best EDC flashlights ever made. It's fantastic. It's very bright. There's lots of review videos out there if y'all want to see more about this one. It's very convenient. It's very small. It's slim. Fits right in your pocket. It disappears. It's able to be focused. I think as a dedicated EDC flashlight, this one is hard to beat. But if you are the kind of person who would use a laser, maybe you use it for work, maybe you don't, maybe you just use it for fun, whatever it might be, use it for pointing. That's what a laser pointer's for, right? And you're also the kind of person that would carry an everyday flashlight, and you're also the kind of person who would use a black light often. Oops, some double clicks. There's lots of reasons to use a black light, whether it's goofy reasons, whether it's serious reasons, whether you're going hiking in the woods and you want to see things fluoresce at different angles. Maybe you work somewhere where you're using a black light is a good idea. Heck, maybe you've got clothes that glow under a black light. You know, I've got a pair of glasses that glow under a black light, you know, and having this is very nice. My kids want me to charge the stars in the ceiling in their bedrooms, you know, as often as they can. So, you know, if you've got unlimited room, this is a better option. if you've got unlimited room. So if you're going in to do inspections in a home, if all this is going in a tool bag, it's not getting stored in your pocket, you know, this is a much better option because each tool individually works far better, far better than the Arkfeld Pro does. But if you would like to have those 3 devices and you would like to keep it in your pocket on a daily basis, it is almost impossible to beat the Arkfeld. Especially the Pro version where they've added the laser in there. It does have this clip that's really neat, you know, so it, you know, well, it seems really boring now because you just clip it on the inside of your pocket, but it's a very deep carry. The clip is all the way at the top, so it puts it very flush down in your pocket, but it also has a reverse clip right here, so you can actually clip it onto your baseball hat, cowboy hat, whatever kind of hat. You can just slide it right over the end. It is very heavy. The older, you know, the other version of the Arkfeld, the non-Pro version, is smaller and lighter weight. I found that to be comfortable clipping it on a hat. This one's a little bit heavy. It'll start to pull it down, especially if I'm wearing a cowboy hat. It will drop it completely. If I'm wearing a fedora, there's no way in hell that it's holding it up. If I'm wearing a nice tight baseball cap, it will work, but I do find it to be a bit uncomfortable when that does happen. Something else to keep in mind. If you are the kind of person, I very much am, that puts a flashlight in their mouth, right? Look in the back. Lots of people do it, right? In fact, this light actually comes with rubber caps, bite caps that come on the bottom, so you can just bite down on it if you really want to. You know, so when you're drooling all over it, it goes on the rubber cap, I guess. This is not comfortable for that. It's big, it's heavy, it's all metal. There is no rubber cap, there is none of that other stuff. So if you're the kind of person that does that often, not really for you. At least I would not assume so. Now, this inspection light, I don't believe that this is going to be most people's light of choice just because it really is for inspection. So unless you are buying this for that very specific purpose, this, for me, sits in the center console of my truck. One of the main reasons being the side floodlight with the magnetic base, so you can stick it to something and you can see it is actually pretty bright. And then also, you can turn it red as well. So, you know, if it is in my vehicle and I do have a breakdown, I'm on the side of the road, I can literally just go stick this onto the outside of my truck, on the outside of the van, whatever it might be, and it will add quite a bit of red exterior illumination to kind of alert people where things are. Not only that, but when hiking and camping, you know, getting to the red, you'd be able to walk along, you know, and not burn up your night vision. So it does have a time and a place, but I don't think it really competes with the class of lights that I have out here and that I've talked about today. So again, the Arkfeld Pro, highly recommend this device. Highly recommend this for an everyday carry. If you can fit it in your pocket and it's the kind of thing you would use regularly, even if it's something you might not think that you would end up using UV that much, and then your cat pees on your carpet, and next thing you know, you're looking for it with this, and you're very thankful for it. You know, glow-in-the-dark stars on a ceiling. You know, there's so many examples of options of when UV light is actually very handy. And then the laser, you know, if you're not the kind of person who would carry around a laser pointer, you're not going to carry around a dedicated laser pointer, and you're not as worried about how bright it is, about being able to see the laser line, you know, in the sky, you know, in the air, which you can't see on the camera right now. But if you're not really looking to have this in your pocket or in your inspection kit or something like that at all times, then again, you know, having it is better than not having it. You may never use it, but it's very nice if you do. One last thing, one last point of note is because I have been comparing it to you know, a tactical style light, which the Streamlight is my go-to for choice. I will throw out there the fact that it does not have a tail operated cap. I find to be absolutely aggravating very often. I will slide this out of my pocket, have to switch it to the selector, hope that I've got the right one, and if I don't, then I've got to turn it off, switch it to the right one, turn it back on to get it to what I want it to, which I want it on flashlight 99 times out of 100 when I'm just pulling it out of my pocket. And it's on laser, or it's on whatever else. It does have a tendency to get switched in my pocket as well. And I don't know if that's because it's in my pocket and I'm fiddling with it, or it's in my pocket and it's getting moved around and that's happening. But I will say, if you were thinking about using this for more of a tactical purpose, you know, for example, pulling it out of a pocket quickly, you know, being able to target acquisition, you know, being able to use it in this kind of capacity, it is definitely turn it on, get it comfortable, you know, kind of situation, unless you plan to hold it out at the side, which many people will. I find it to be a little bit clunky on that. With all the flashlights that I've got, I definitely prefer tail caps. So Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Arkfeld Pro. Will you be getting one? Is this something you guys are interested in having? Is there something I missed? Is there something else I should have compared it against instead? And you know, where are we going to go from here? What would you guys like to see reviewed next? If you'll please give me a like and a subscribe at the bottom. And like I said, links for all of these things will be in the description of the video. And I do use Amazon links, which I do receive a commission on. So if you choose to purchase one of these, please do use one of those links. I would very much appreciate it. But also keep in mind, I'm not recommending any of these items based on, you know, making 50 cents off the sale of a flashlight. These are just my items, the things that I use. This is definitely not my full flashlight collection. I've got another video up, actually I linked to that right now, with other flashlight reviews where I talk about other flashlights and like what are some of the best ones, which ones am I currently using, what might work for you. So thanks again for watching and have a good one.